March 2026 is marked on calendars inside the Pentagon, the Kremlin, and Beijing for the same reason. It's not a coincidence. 3 weeks ago, Israel's defense minister used 2 words in a classified briefing that made generals go silent: existential timeline. Right now, grain shipments are being rerouted, nuclear submarines are moving into position, and a 2,600-year-old prophecy is unfolding in real time across 5 continents. What happened in 2025 wasn't chaos, it was choreography. Every war, every earthquake, every economic collapse followed a pattern written in the book of Revelation, Ezekiel, and Daniel. The people who lived through those events had no idea they were acting out scripture word for word. And what comes next in 2026 will make last year look like the opening act. 1. The 6,000-year clock stops. We just crossed a line that humanity hasn't seen in 6,000 years. The Apostle Peter left us a mathematical key that most people miss. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. This isn't poetry, it's a timeline. God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. Now apply that to human history. From Adam to Jesus, 4,000 years passed. That's 4 prophetic days. From Jesus to today, another 2,000 years. 2 more days. Add them up. 6,000 years, 6 prophetic days. We're in the final hours of the 6th day. And here's where it gets terrifying. The 7th day isn't just rest, it's the millennial kingdom, the 1,000-year reign of Christ that Revelation describes. But before that 7th day begins, something else has to happen first. The final week, the last 7 years of human history under current rulership. Daniel called it the 70th week. Jesus called it the Great Tribulation. 7 years of total collapse, global control, and the rise of the system that marks people. Every prophetic scholar agrees we're close. The debate isn't if anymore, it's when. And 2025 gave us the answer. Look at what converged in a single year. Israel surrounded on 5 fronts for the first time since 1973. Russia and China conducting joint military operations. Global food prices spiking 300% in famine zones. Earthquakes in prophetic locations. Technology reaching the point where every transaction can be tracked. Weather events that match Revelation's trumpets word for word. These aren't random, they're synchronized. The clock didn't just start ticking in 2025, it started counting down the final seconds. And scholars tracking biblical timelines put the beginning of those 7 years somewhere between 2026 and 2030. That's not decades away, that's now. Which means 2026 isn't just another year, it could be year 1 of the final countdown, the year the prophetic clock strikes midnight and the 7th day preparation begins. But there's one prophecy that has to happen first, and it's already in motion. 2. The axis Ezekiel named. 3 nations are moving into position right now, and the Bible named all 3. May 22, 2025. South China Sea, a Chinese warship deliberately rams a Filipino vessel at Sandy Cay Reef. This wasn't a navigation error, it was a message. But the message wasn't for the Philippines, it was for Washington. Because just 2 weeks earlier, the United States and Philippines had launched Operation Balikatan, 14,000 troops, anti-ship missiles, joint patrols with Japan and Australia. China watched, then China responded. Not with words, with steel. But here's what makes this prophetic. China wasn't acting alone. Russia had already moved nuclear-capable missiles into Belarus. Iran had supplied drone technology to Hezbollah for strikes on Israel's northern border. 3 nations, 3 different conflicts, 1 coordinated strategy. Listen to what Ezekiel wrote 2,600 years ago. Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, Persia and the distant north and all its armies. Persia is Iran, the distant north is Russia, and Gog? Scholars have debated this for centuries, but one detail is clear. The prophecy describes a massive eastern power. China is the only nation that fits. These 3 powers aren't allies by accident.
They formed a military axis that matches Ezekiel's coalition perfectly. And in 2025, they started coordinating joint naval exercises, weapons technology transfers, synchronized pressure on the West. 2026 is when that coordination turns to action, and Revelation tells us exactly what they'll do. Clear the path, remove the barriers, prepare the way for the kings of the East to march. But the path they're clearing leads to one place, the collapse Paul predicted. Myanmar showed us what happens when humanity loses its soul. February 2025, a viral video surfaces that make hardened war correspondents look away. Soldiers shooting civilians in a marketplace, not in combat, for sport. They're laughing while they do it. Children running, mothers screaming. The soldiers keep firing, keep laughing. This isn't war anymore. It's something else, something darker. The numbers are staggering. 3 million people hiding in jungles, 1,000 airstrikes on schools and hospitals, Buddhist temples turned into torture chambers. But the statistics don't capture what's really happening. We're watching the death of human empathy in real time. The Apostle Paul saw this coming. In the last days, perilous times will come. Men will be lovers of themselves, without natural affection, brutal, despisers of good. Without natural affection, that's the key phrase. The Greek word means the loss of basic human love, the instinct that makes you protect children, that makes you recoil from suffering. Myanmar's soldiers have lost it. They torture for entertainment. They burn villages while filming themselves. They've become what Paul warned about, humans without humanity. And it's spreading. Sudan, Ethiopia, Haiti, the same pattern everywhere. Not just violence, celebration of violence. Soldiers posting their atrocities on social media like trophies. In 2025, we saw isolated cases. 2026 is when this spiritual disease goes pandemic, when the loss of natural affection isn't limited to war zones. It spreads to cities, to neighborhoods, to homes. But there's something even worse coming, because when humanity loses its soul, something else fills the vacuum.
4. The famine revelation, measured. Sudan is eating grass, and the Bible predicted the exact price. October 2025, Khartoum's main market. A mother counts coins in her palm. She worked 14 hours yesterday, cleaning, carrying, whatever she could find. Her payment barely covers one loaf of bread, not enough for her 3 children. She'll go hungry again tonight. This is the new math of survival. 1 day's work equals 1 day's food, barely. The numbers are apocalyptic. Wheat prices up 300%, 25 million people on rations, children dying from hunger every 4 hours. The UN calls it the worst crisis on Earth, but they're missing something crucial. This exact economic formula was written in Revelation. John saw it 2,000 years ago. And behold, a black horse. He who sat on it had scales in his hand. And I heard a voice saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius." A denarius was 1 day's wage for a laborer. A quart of wheat was 1 day's food for one person. The black horseman doesn't bring instant starvation. He brings calculated hunger, scales that measure survival down to the last grain. Sudan in 2025 matched this prophecy perfectly, but it's spreading. Venezuela, Sri Lanka, Lebanon, the same formula appearing everywhere. Work all day, eat today, nothing left for tomorrow. 2026 is when this formula goes global, when supply chains don't just strain, they snap, when even rich nations start counting grain. But famine is just the third horseman, and the fourth one is already saddling up. 5. The control system rises. Your phone already knows, and soon it will decide. November 2025, the European Central Bank announces something that sounds boring but isn't. Digital Euro pilot program, full rollout by 2026. China's digital yuan already tracks 260 million citizens. India's system covers 1.4 billion. Brazil just connected 150 million.
These aren't separate systems anymore, they're linking. But here's what they're not telling you. Every transaction leaves a trail. Every purchase gets scored. Buy too much meat? Carbon penalty. Support the wrong cause? Account frozen. Say the wrong thing online? No grocery shopping this week. This happened in Canada during the trucker protests. Bank accounts frozen, not by court order, by algorithm. China does it daily. Social credit scores determining who can buy train tickets, who can get loans, who can leave their district. Revelation warned us exactly about this. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark. No one may buy or sell except one who has the mark. Notice the precision. All people, every economic class, one system, total control over buying and selling, not cash, not cards, a mark, a digital permission. 2025 built the infrastructure. Every major economy now has digital currency capability. Biometric scanners in every airport, QR codes for every transaction. The architecture is complete. 2026 is when they flip the switch, when voluntary becomes mandatory, when cash becomes illegal. But controlling money is just the beginning. The next level of control is already being tested. 6. Damascus enters the countdown. The oldest city in the world is about to become the newest ruins. July 16, 2025, Israeli missiles strike the Syrian Ministry of Defense, not the outskirts, not military bases, the capital itself, the heart of Damascus. For the first time in history, the ancient city that survived 11,000 years faces existential threat. Israel's message was clear. The warnings are over. Syria is trapped between two deaths: internal collapse from civil war, external annihilation from Israeli strikes. The government can barely control Damascus anymore. Druze militias, Bedouin fighters, Iranian proxies, all fighting for pieces of a dying nation. Isaiah saw this exact scenario. Behold, Damascus will cease to be a city and will become a heap of ruins. Not damaged, not conquered, ceased to exist, a heap of ruins. No other city in biblical prophecy gets this specific death sentence. Babylon falls, Jerusalem gets trampled, but Damascus gets erased. The setup is perfect. Chemical weapons hidden in residential areas, Iranian missiles in civilian warehouses. One miscalculation, one stray missile hitting the wrong stockpile. That's all it takes, and both sides are running out of patience. 2025 positioned all the pieces. 2026 is when someone makes the move that fulfills Isaiah's vision, when the world's oldest city becomes the world's newest graveyard. But Damascus falling isn't just another conflict, it's a trigger, because when Damascus falls, Iran responds, and when Iran responds, 7, the earth strikes back. March 28, 2025, Myanmar shook, but that was just the earth clearing its throat. A 7.7 magnitude earthquake hits Mandalay at 9:43 a.m., 45,000 dead in minutes. But the earthquake wasn't the real killer. The fires were. Gas lines ruptured, power cables snapped, ancient wooden buildings became torches. For 3 days, pillars of black smoke rose so high they blocked the sun. Satellites captured them from space, pillars of darkness over a nation already at war. Joel prophesied this exact scenario. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Blood from the civil war, fire from the earthquake, pillars of smoke visible from orbit. All 3 signs, one location, same week. That's not coincidence, that's choreography. But Myanmar was practice. The Pacific Ring of Fire is awakening. Mount Fuji showing activity for the first time in 300 years. The San Andreas Fault recording swarms. Istanbul's fault line overdue by 200 years. Scientists say we're entering a period of seismic acceleration. The Bible says we're entering the birth pains. Jesus called them exactly that, Birth pains. They start slow, get faster, become more intense, can't be stopped once they begin. 2025 gave us the first contractions. 2026 is when they speed up. The U.S. Geological Survey just released something they didn't want public. They're tracking 37 major fault lines showing unusual activity simultaneously. Unprecedented, they called it. The Earth isn't just moving, it's preparing. 8. The sea roars a warning. Australia heard something on March 12th that shouldn't exist in modern nations, the sound of the ocean winning. Cyclone Alfred wasn't just a storm, it was a monster. Category 4 with 140-mile-per-hour winds. But winds don't terrify people, water does. A 26-foot wall of the Pacific Ocean slammed into Townsville. Streets became rivers 10 feet deep. The Hawkesbury River rose 43 feet. Cars floated away like toys. Entire suburbs underwater. And then the crocodiles appeared, forced from their habitats, swimming through residential streets, apex predators hunting in living rooms. Australia declared a national emergency, called New Zealand and the United States for help. One of the richest nations on Earth couldn't save itself from water. Survivors kept using one word to describe it: the roar. The sound of waves hitting buildings wasn't like normal water. It was thunder, continuous, deafening, the ocean screaming.
Jesus predicted this exact phenomenon. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On earth, nations in distress, perplexed by the roaring of the sea and waves. Two elements: nations in distress and perplexed. That's Australia calling for international rescue. The roaring of the sea. That's the sound witnesses described. The ocean literally roaring as it devoured the coast. 2025 gave us one cyclone, one coast. 2026 is when multiple coastlines hear that roar simultaneously, when island nations start evacuating permanently, when the sea stops being predictable and becomes predatory, because the waters aren't done rising yet. 9. The nuclear threat becomes real. October 13th, 2025, the world came within one sentence of annihilation. Dmitry Medvedev, Putin's right hand, issued the threat that froze Western capitals. If the United States sends Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, we won't distinguish whether they're nuclear or conventional. Our response will be on the same level. That same day, Putin rejected Trump's peace proposal. Then he did something worse. He deployed Oreshnik missiles to Belarus, hypersonic weapons capable of reaching London in 8 minutes, carrying nuclear warheads. This wasn't posturing. Russia launched 84 airstrikes in 1 week, 193 guided bombs, 6,300 drones. Cities burned through the night. 12,000 homes went dark, families buried under rubble while sleeping. The death count is staggering. 46,000 Ukrainian soldiers dead, 380,000 wounded, 10,000 tanks destroyed. But it's not the war that fulfills prophecy, it's the atmosphere around it. Jesus warned us precisely about this. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation. Wars and rumors of wars. That second part is key. The rumor, the threat, the unbearable tension that makes governments tremble. Medvedev's nuclear warnings, missiles in Belarus, that's the rumor of war, the hovering threat that could ignite at any moment. China is watching Taiwan, calculating. India and Pakistan exchange fire monthly. The Middle East is a powder keg with a lit fuse. 2025 brought us to the edge with threats. 2026 is when someone stops threatening and starts launching. But there's one final piece that makes all of this unstoppable. 10. Jerusalem becomes the target. 5 fronts, 1 objective, the ancient city every prophet warned about. 2025 was the year the world's attention fixed on one location. Israel launched ground operations in Gaza, traded missiles with Iran and Yemen, faced off with Syria at the border. Hezbollah attacked from Lebanon. 5 simultaneous conflicts, different enemies, different tactics, but every single one had the same goal: Jerusalem. Zechariah saw this exact scenario.
I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling for all the surrounding peoples. All the nations of the earth will gather against her. A cup of trembling, that's diplomatic language for a crisis that destabilizes everyone who touches it. And that's exactly what Jerusalem has become. The UN holds emergency sessions, Western nations condemn, Eastern powers mobilize. The entire global system is reeling because of one city. But here's the part that should make you lean forward. The prophecy says all nations will gather, not some, all. We're not there yet. In 2025, we saw nations beginning to position, alliances forming, pressure mounting. But the full gathering, that's still coming. 2026 is when the last holdouts fall in line, when even nations trying to stay neutral get pulled in, when Jerusalem stops being a regional issue and becomes the global flashpoint, and when all nations finally gather against her, the next verse activates, the one where God himself intervenes. But that intervention doesn't look like rescue, it looks like judgment on the nations who came. What happens next? But there's one final alliance we haven't discussed yet, the one that makes everything else inevitable. Right now, 3 powers are coordinating in ways intelligence agencies can't fully track. Russia's northern strategy, Iran's proxy network, China's economic warfare. They're not operating independently anymore. They're synchronized, and the target they've agreed on has a name. The prophetic axis isn't theory, it's active. Ezekiel named them, Revelation described their movement, and 2026 is when that movement becomes invasion, when coordination becomes action, when the dress rehearsal becomes opening night. Click the video on screen right now, because what these 3 nations are planning for 2026 will make everything you just watched look like preparation. The timeline is set, the pieces are positioned, and the Bible told us exactly what comes next.